Hey there. Having fun with 0 guests.
A video began to play in the empty wedding hall. On screen was the smug, malicious grin of Brian. Rachel bit her lip in frustration. Beside her, Mark seemed lost for words. The venue staff looked pale. They clearly hadn't expected this kind of video.
What a pathetic woman. Who'd want to go to your wedding? Serves you right.
Olivia's face then appeared on screen. It was clear the two of them had conspired together. Just how low can these people go?
I'm sorry, Nancy.
Rachel's tearful voice pierced my heart. These people had shredded the heart of my dear sister, Rachel, whom I've always protected. I couldn't forgive those two, nor the employees who had gone along with them. I'll fire all 90 of them. A surprisingly low voice escaped me. Whether there was backlash or the company suffered didn't matter. They made my sister cry. That alone was reason enough to fire them. My name is Nancy, and I'm 43 years old. The misfortune for my little sister, Rachel, and me began when I was 17 and Rachel was 5. Our parents, who had gone out shopping together as usual, passed away in a car accident. Naturally, the whole family was thrown into chaos. I had to give up my plans for college suddenly. It was my mom's older brother who offered to be our guardian. He ran a small trading company. With his support, I decided to join his business. That's how Rachel and I, who was much younger than me, started living together. I still remember vividly when Rachel entered elementary school a little over a year after our parents' funeral. I was still new at my uncle's company, and we were both first-year students in a way. I'm a first year, and Rachel's a first year too. Let's encourage each other and do our best together.
Yeah. Let's do our best so Dad and Mom in heaven won't worry about us.
I've been like a mother to Rachel. Sweet and open-hearted, Rachel would come to me with anything, questions about school, issues with friends, and even advice on dating. We've always been very close. I believe it's because we respect each other deeply. A quarter of a century has passed since then, and now Rachel is 31. Unlike me, who dedicated my life to my career, Rachel has found someone special. His name is Mark. They met through their friend, and he's a trustworthy, wonderful man. I've had the chance to meet Mark a few times to see if he's someone who can be trusted to care for Rachel.
I'll be honest, I wasn't always a perfect guy. I got into some trouble back in the day. But I've regretted it, learned from it, and I've changed. I promise I'll never make Rachel cry.
Mark.
Thank you for being honest with me, Mark. Please continue to take care of Rachel. And so, Mark and Rachel became engaged. I vowed to support their happiness wholeheartedly and wished, from the bottom of my heart, for Rachel's joy. One day, I noticed Rachel didn't look happy. She's supposed to be overjoyed with her wedding coming up. What could be wrong? What's going on? Did something happen with Mark? Could it be wedding jitters?
No, not at all. Things are going great with Mark. It's just, there's been a bit of trouble at work.
Apparently, Rachel has some difficult colleagues in her department. I was worried seeing Rachel look so down. Who could be causing her so much trouble? Rachel's wedding is only 6 months away. I want to clear away anything that might cause her stress before then. That was my honest thought. There are 2 people at her workplace giving her a hard time. One of them is Brian, an older employee in the sales department who is shallow and insincere. He doesn't have a good reputation, nor does he have good sales numbers. Frankly, I can't understand why the company continues to employ someone like him. He's known for his poor treatment of women, selfishness, and arrogance, not to mention his unattractive and rude demeanor. Even though Rachel already has a fiancé, Brian keeps pursuing her persistently.
Hey, come on, just once. Let's hang out. I'm telling you, it's best to have a little adventure before you get married.
Brian, please stop. If rumors start going around, it'll be a problem. I'm engaged, and this could cause trouble for Mark, too.
You're so uptight, seriously. You should work on that, you know? You're planning to stick around at this company, right? It'd be better to keep things smooth between coworkers, don't you think?
Brian is always grinning. But his behavior is practically harassment, as if he's saying, if you want to keep working here peacefully, you better go along with me. If Rachel gave in to Brian even once, he'd surely start spreading bad rumors about her. According to Rachel, a few female employees have already left the company because of him.
He'll keep pestering you, and if you finally agree to go out with him just once, that's it. He starts spreading all sorts of stories to ruin a woman's reputation. Brian is exactly that kind of petty, awful person.
What kind of rumors does he spread?
He'll say things like they went to a hotel together, she kissed him, or didn't resist him if he touched her. Once he spreads those stories, nobody in the office will give those women the time of day.
For someone who's engaged, having bad rumors spread about them would be devastating. In the worst case, it could even lead to a broken engagement. I know how strong the bond is between Mark and Rachel. But life is unpredictable. It's no wonder Rachel feels troubled by Brian's presence and keeps rejecting him repeatedly. The problem is Brian's extreme persistence. It seems he's particularly taken with Rachel. No matter how many times she turns him down, he keeps approaching her. And with Brian, it's even worse because he lies so easily with a straight face. He started spreading rumors as if Rachel just needs a little more persuasion to be his.
When I told her, let's meet up secretly sometime, Rachel was like, fine, I guess I have no choice. I'm looking forward to it. Now, where should I take her?
Brian is the least trustworthy man in the office. But there are still people who believe his lies. The more detailed his rumors are, the more people are likely to believe him. Even if they don't buy into everything, some might think there's a bit of truth in what he's saying. If that happens, it could change how others view Rachel completely. There's absolutely no benefit in this for her.
Why did someone like him have to set his sights on me? Lately, since I keep turning him down, he's starting to get upset.
He's getting upset. If anyone should be upset, it's you.
Exactly. His harassment is getting worse. He's been giving me incorrect information and setting me up to make mistakes. It's awful. I wish he'd just quit.
Rachel looked completely exhausted. She seemed mentally worn down from Brian's relentless attacks. Why does my sister, Rachel, have to suffer like this? My frustration kept growing. I couldn't stand the thought of Brian, someone I'd never even met, causing her so much pain. The other person troubling Rachel is Olivia, 52 years old. She is a single woman with a very unpleasant personality. She's what you'd call the office matriarch, and apparently wields a lot of influence. She's competent enough at her job that the company would struggle without her, which makes it all the worse. Olivia knows her position and takes advantage of it, pushing her limits even more. Her harassment, fueled by jealousy toward young and attractive Rachel, seems pretty brutal.
Lately, the pressure from Olivia has been intense. She's so passive-aggressive and mean, and honestly, she scares me.
What kinds of things does she say or do? Is she trying to isolate you?
Exactly. Even when I say hello, everyone's too scared of Olivia to respond. I'm not included in any small talk, and I'm completely isolated.
I see. I thought you were getting along well with everyone, but it seems things aren't going smoothly at work, right?
Unfortunately, no.
Rachel sighed. Rachel, with her friendly personality, was always surrounded by people back in school. She has a cheerful nature and good looks, which made her popular with both men and women. But things seem to be different at her current job. In fact, it almost seems like she's become a target. According to Rachel, Olivia is domineering, mean-spirited, and even her superiors struggle to handle her.
The higher Ubus would be in a tough spot without Olivia around, you know? She's aware of that, so she acts like a queen. If she doesn't like someone, she'll go all out to exclude and crush them.
So right now, you're her target?
Exactly. It's a common pattern. As long as one person is the scapegoat, everyone else feels safe. So, no one steps in to help.
Rachel's lonely expression shows just how isolated she feels. There's likely no one at work openly supporting her. I think it's time I seriously consider what I can do to help Rachel. One day, Rachel uncharacteristically showed her emotions. She came home from work without even a greeting, mumbling to herself. Seeing her unusually upset face, I wondered what had happened.
Brian and Olivia said some really horrible things to me.
She said that and then started crying softly. It looked like she had reached her breaking point, unable to hold back her feelings any longer. I made her a warm drink and listened patiently as she shared what happened. Today, Rachel had talked about her upcoming wedding with Mark, planned for 6 months from now, and mentioned it at work.
When I told them the wedding is in 6 months and that I'd be taking some time off, Olivia glared at me and said, "For someone who can barely do their job, you sure want to take time off like everyone else."
Unbelievable. Who says stuff like that these days? And you work hard, Rachel, don't you?
I do, of course. And then Brian butted in, saying, "You should invite 90 colleagues to the wedding."
90 people? Didn't you and Mark agree on a small ceremony? Rachel had already told them she and her fiancé planned to keep the wedding modest, but they wouldn't listen. Instead, they kept pushing the invite 90 people demand, and finally Olivia said, "If you don't listen, I won't approve your vacation time." She shouldn't have the authority to decide that, but who knows what might happen if Rachel crosses her. That night, we reached out to Mark. He didn't mind if there were more guests.
Whether it's 90 or 100 people, it's all good.
His response was truly reassuring. With Mark's reassurance, Rachel decided to invite 90 colleagues to her wedding. On the wedding day, the large venue was sparsely filled. All of Mark's guests had arrived. The ones missing were Rachel's, specifically her colleagues from work. Rachel tried calling her coworkers, but no one was answering.
I have a bad feeling about this. Could it be people from my office?
I get what you're implying, Rachel, but surely not. They're all coming. Maybe they're just running late. Just then, the lights dimmed, and a video started playing. Both Rachel and Mark looked bewildered. It seemed to be a surprise. What was odd, though, was that even the staff appeared confused. Some of the staff had apparently been asked to play it without knowing what it contained. After a moment, a close-up of a man in his 30s appeared on the large screen.
Brian,
Hey there. Having fun with 0 guests?
Mark's guests murmured in shock. Rachel bit her lip in frustration. Next to her, Mark seemed at a loss for words. The venue staff looked pale. They clearly hadn't expected this kind of video.
What a pathetic woman. Who'd want to go to your wedding? Serves you right.
An older woman's face appeared on the screen. Her expression, reflecting her rotten character, made it clear that this was Olivia. What we feared had come true. A last-minute cancellation by the guests. Rachel, unable to bear it anymore, covered her face and began to cry.
I'm sorry, Nancy.
Why is Rachel apologizing? It's those awful people at her workplace who did this. They made Rachel invite a large crowd on purpose, only to cancel last minute. Ruining someone's big day with a cruel prank is unforgivable. I'll fire all 90 of them.
Nancy.
I can do at least that much. Just watch me. They'll regret ever mocking her. I'd never been this furious. Even firing them all didn't feel like enough to satisfy my anger. The truth is, I'm the chairperson of the group of companies that includes Rachel's workplace. After learning the ropes at my uncle's company, I co-founded my own business a few years later. Since then, my company has grown significantly, now overseeing several companies within our group. Rachel works at one of them. I vow to take this incident very seriously. Rachel apologized to Mark's guests. I joined her in expressing our apologies. It was truly regrettable. In the end, at Rachel's request, the ceremony was concluded at that stage. She felt it would be unbearable to show any further vulnerability in front of everyone. Standing beside her as she cried, Mark supported her and also apologized to the departing guests. For the sake of these two, I wanted to deal with those people as quickly as possible. I contacted my assistant. The following morning, I summoned Brian and Olivia to a certain location. It was the conference room at the group headquarters. Brian and Olivia were visibly nervous. Naturally so. Next to me, as the chairwoman, was Rachel, her eyes swollen from crying. I had just informed Brian and Olivia that Rachel was my sister. Let me say this clearly. You really had the nerve to humiliate Rachel, didn't you? What do you think of your actions? Do you truly believe that's how responsible adults behave?
We're very sorry.
We're truly, deeply sorry. We didn't know Rachel was your sister, Nancy.
That's irrelevant, isn't it? No matter who it was, you had no right to subject them to such humiliation. Both Brian and Olivia continued apologizing. Their attitude only fueled my anger further. I'll show them that some things can't simply be resolved with an apology. I'll be detailing what you both did in the office's newsletter, highlighting you as the people who ruined someone's big day with a childish prank.
Please wait. We really apologize. We're sincerely remorseful. Please, don't publish it in the newsletter. We're begging you.
Rachel, they're asking for forgiveness.
There's no way I could ever forgive them.
Rachel's glare at Brian was sharp. It was clear that Brian was the main instigator of the harassment. Rachel's eyes were filled with determination, showing she intended to hold him accountable. Perhaps intimidated by Rachel's resolve, Brian and Olivia started making pitiful excuses.
It wasn't me. Do you think I'd willingly do something so awful? It was Olivia. It was her idea.
Don't be ridiculous. You were definitely the one who suggested it, Brian. I would never come up with something so cruel.
Liar. Enough already. Because of you, I'm being treated like a villain.
You are a villain. You were grinning the whole time while recording the video.
They began blaming each other. What despicable people! Just having them around is toxic. I clapped my hands loudly to put an end to their argument. That's enough. I've already made up my mind, all right? I'll speak to the CEO of your company and have all 90 people who participated in the mass cancellation fired. Understood?
This is impossible. And if you do that, the company won't be able to function. That would be a huge loss.
Exactly. There's no way you can fire all 90 people at once. And I hate to say it, but over something so minor.
Something minor, you say? Olivia, are you truly remorseful? After doing something that cruel, what's truly unacceptable is your behavior, isn't it? Perhaps intimidated by my outrage, Olivia started trembling. When I say I'll do something, I do it. It's always been that way. The number of people doesn't matter. I'll handle them all at once. In any job, it's essential to consider the feelings of others, isn't it? I think everyone who participated in this childish prank has no empathy. People like that are nothing but a nuisance in the workplace.
But we've always worked hard for the company. I'd like you to recognize that. Both Olivia and I are valuable assets to the company, aren't we? If you get rid of us, it will be a loss for the group.
Are you serious?
Rachel's gaze grew even harsher. It was clear that Rachel didn't agree with Brian's words. She was likely recalling all the things she had endured.
I've endured harassment from you countless times, Brian. You put me through so much pain. No matter how much I asked you to stop, you ignored me and kept up your selfish bullying, didn't you?
Well, that was, you see. I mean, it was just a bit of fun to lighten the office atmosphere. I was only thinking of everyone's well-being.
What? Don't say such nonsense. You forced me to be the scapegoat for the sake of everyone? You spread nasty rumors about me, made me suffer and cry. And you think that made the office atmosphere brighter? Absolutely not.
I agree with her. Brian, your excuses are flimsy and frankly unbelievable. Also, I've had you thoroughly investigated. No offense, but you haven't done much work of any value. Brian's eyes widened in shock. It was true that I'd conducted an investigation on Brian and Olivia. I had them investigate their positions, contributions, achievements, and more within the company. Of course, I also looked into their personal traits and how they were perceived by others. The results were dismal. Brian, your reputation is terrible. You lie, spread baseless rumors, and target vulnerable people to make them feel miserable. It seems you've brought many employees to tears.
No, that's not.
Are you saying it's a misunderstanding? That's a lie too, isn't it? You always come up with something on the spot. I can't trust you. Rachel isn't the only one who suffered from your false rumors. Your actions haven't brought any positivity to the office. Rachel had always been tormented by Brian's behavior. And now, there was this recent mass cancellation stunt. It's only natural that she would strongly want him gone. Of course, a wedding is one of the biggest events in a person's life, and Rachel had been looking forward to it immensely. She must have wanted to show her parents in heaven that she was living happily. Brian and Olivia ruined such a special ceremony with a childish prank. There was no way she could forgive them. Rachel's sharp gaze then turned to Olivia. Even Olivia, for once, was left speechless. Perhaps she felt a bit of responsibility for ruining a younger colleague's wedding.
Olivia, don't you have any idea how shocking and painful it is to have your wedding ruined? Can you not even imagine that?
It's not that I can't imagine it, but
Then try picturing it happening to you. How would you feel? Would you be happy about it? Would you be able to laugh it off? Absolutely not.
I'm sorry.
Now that the ceremony is over, it's too late for apologies. And unfortunately, it had to be cut short. What they did was so cruel and hurtful that it broke her spirit. You probably can't even imagine how others feel, can you? Olivia, your reputation is just as bad as Brian's. You're rude, mean-spirited, sharp-tongued, and domineering. I've heard that many people have left the company because of you.
That's not true. I've always been serious, working hard, doing my job diligently.
You probably can't even imagine how others feel, can you? Olivia, your reputation is just as bad as Brian's. You're rude, mean-spirited, sharp-tongued, and domineering. I've heard that many people have left the company because of you.
I don't know your true intentions, Olivia, but it seems the employees around you have had a hard time because of you. There have been numerous complaints about you from upper management as well. Employees had made negative comments about Olivia, saying things like, "I wish she'd just leave. I can't stand the sight of her. I don't even want to breathe the same air, and facing her makes me sick." She was resented by many people. It's likely she had done plenty to deserve that resentment. When I say many employees quit because of you, I'm not lying. It's a fact. Since you started working in your current department, the turnover rate has skyrocketed.
Turnover rate.
Yes, the turnover rate in your department. You're driving people to leave. And now you're extending your influence to push out employees in other departments too.
Don't tell me you didn't know. Why don't you admit you enjoy making people suffer? There isn't a single employee who likes you, Olivia. I can state that with certainty.
It seemed Olivia was aware of how much she was disliked. She didn't offer any sort of rebuttal. Perhaps she realized that saying anything at this point would be futile. Just then, the groom, Mark, arrived a bit late. He was also a victim in this whole ordeal. When he heard about today's gathering, he insisted on attending. His usually calm demeanor was nowhere to be seen. I'd never seen such a fierce look on his face. With his past as a bit of a troublemaker, his expression was as sharp as a blade. He walked straight over to Brian and Olivia.
You're the two from the video, right? You really pulled a dirty stunt. I had several close friends at that venue, and you went and humiliated Rachel in front of them.
Close friends.
What? Is it strange that I'd have them there? You two were the ones who insisted on 90 guests for Rachel, weren't you? So we made sure to match the numbers. And you went and ruined all that effort.
Wait, please, we're sorry. We didn't know anything about that.
Brian and Olivia turned pale and started shaking. They had vastly underestimated the situation. Of course, they didn't know Mark's past or that his close friends were at the wedding. They also had no idea what consequences their actions would bring or what it would mean to turn Mark into an enemy.
You made Rachel suffer and cry. I'll never forgive you. My friends and I will be on your trail for life. No amount of tears or apologies will save you. Get ready for it.
Faced with his terrifying glare and the threat of being hounded by Mark and his friends for life, Brian and Olivia began to tremble even more. From now on, those two probably won't be able to walk outside without feeling uneasy. They're bound to feel in danger more often. They might not even be able to go for a simple walk. But they brought this on themselves. Brian and Olivia made an enemy of someone they absolutely shouldn't have.
Well, we're truly sorry. We deeply apologize for ruining your ceremony, so please.
Please forgive us. We know we were wrong. We were complete fools.
Do you think apologizing is going to make this right? How clueless are you? I told you, you're going to regret this for the rest of your lives. If you're really sorry, don't even think about resisting.
Whatever the means, it was clear Brian and Olivia were going to suffer for the rest of their lives. Mark's furious voice held enough power to make that unmistakably clear. With tears in their eyes, Brian and Olivia looked down in frustration, biting their lips. But I wasn't about to let it end there. I decided to press them even further. Brian, Olivia, during my investigation into you, I uncovered something shocking. Both of you have been involved in fraud, haven't you?
What?
Fraud. What are you talking about?
Are you saying you don't know? Brian and Olivia exchanged glances. They seemed to be gauging each other's next move. It's only natural since they were accomplices. Brian, you conspired with a contact at a client company to inflate invoices, and Olivia, you turned a blind eye in exchange for a cut of the money. You two were in a mutually beneficial relationship.
Dirty tricks. No wonder you thought up such nasty harassment.
Wait, I don't know anything about that.
Exactly. I've never once overlooked any misconduct.
In front of the two denying everything, Rachel slowly shook her head. Rachel already knew much about this matter. She knew who was involved in the fraud, how they did it, and how long it had been going on.
There's no use trying to deny it. We have multiple testimonies about your misconduct. We conducted a survey with 88 of your coworkers.
In fact, we reached out individually to those who didn't attend the wedding and gave them a choice: resign or provide information about the two of you. Everyone was more than willing to share your secrets and rumors.
What? So from the beginning, you planned to only fire the two of us? That whole bit about firing 90 people was a lie.
Do you realize the impact of firing 90 people at once would have on a company of your size? Of course, I planned it carefully. Now, will you admit it? That you were engaging in fraud? Finally realizing that resisting was pointless, Brian and Olivia hung their heads in defeat, saying nothing more. From here, they would turn themselves in and confess to their fraudulent activities. Rachel and Mark exchanged glances and gave each other a small nod. They both looked visibly relieved. Feeling that I had lightened their burden a bit, I too felt a sense of relief. The police investigation was reportedly intense. In addition to the inflated invoices, questioning revealed more misconduct by Brian and Olivia, including fraudulent overtime claims and fake business trips. There was even suspicion that Olivia had actively encouraged Brian's misconduct to get hush money from him. The damage they caused the company was considerable, and strict disciplinary action was deemed necessary.
Nancy, did you hear back from the company? They're planning to file a lawsuit against Brian and Olivia for damages.
Yes, I got the details. I also received an apology from the executives saying, "We're sorry for the trouble caused."
I had some colleagues apologize to me too. They said they were forced to comply because Brian and Olivia were so aggressive, and they felt they couldn't defy them.
It's truly awful, but it's a relief for the group's company to finally be rid of people like that. Naturally, Brian and Olivia were fired. The damages claim against the two of them amounts to nearly $100,000. It revealed just how much they had been exploiting their positions for personal gain. Now that everything was exposed, it was their turn to pay for their actions. I hope they'll deeply reflect on what they've done and live the rest of their lives in regret. Later, Rachel, Mark, and I occasionally spotted Brian and Olivia around town. Both of them had lifeless expressions, moving with the look and gait of zombies. To pay off the damages, Brian and Olivia had taken on considerable debt. It seemed they were now working under a grueling schedule to manage the repayments. I'd never want to end up like that. We nodded in agreement. Rachel and Mark held a new wedding ceremony after everything was finally resolved. The employees organized a collection to apologize and raised funds for the event. Naturally, I joined in as well. It was a modest but beautiful ceremony, filled with love.
I never thought we'd be celebrated like this. I feel so happy, almost to my own surprise.
Me too. Everyone here is truly wonderful.
I felt the same way as Mark. Most of Rachel's coworkers were genuinely good people. They had simply been forced to follow Brian and Olivia's lead. Individually, they were kind, dependable, and reliable at work. Now that they knew Rachel was my sister, no one treated her coldly. In fact, even people who hadn't interacted with her much before began to approach her. I found it amusing, but it was understandable.
I didn't want people to treat me differently because of my connection to Nancy, so I kept it quiet. But I guess it couldn't be helped.
Rachel's expression was bright as she spoke. The shadows that once clouded her had vanished entirely. Seeing her smile more often than ever was, to me, more precious than even her marriage. I'm sure that, from now on, I'll continue to support Rachel for the sake of her smile. I have no doubt that our parents in heaven are cheering me on as well. That thought alone is enough to make me feel truly happy.